In this webinar recording that you are about to watch, we actually brought a special guest on. Chelsea Peitz is an expert in helping you learn how to use social media to your advantage. Now, I know the term social media feels a little bit nerve-wracking. Well, guess what? We covered that as well. We talked about how do you overcome some of these self-limiting beliefs that might be holding you back from reaching the market and reaching the people that you need to. We're going to give you some strategies, we're going to give you some knowledge, and we're going to help you overcome any of that nervousness that you might be feeling. We hope that you enjoy it. Take a look. Well, good morning, everybody. I know people are starting to pile in. We already passed 100, like instantly.
So
this is going to be fun. Everybody, we had so many people sign up for this webinar. It is going to be a blast. We have tons of information, but we're just going to give it a second. I'll kind of go over some of the housekeeping stuff to let people pile in so that we don't jump in too quickly and have people miss some of the info. As you can see, we've got some new faces on the webinar today. Chelsea Peitz, I've got to introduce you first. I'm so thrilled that you're here. You can see we put you as a keynote speaker, best-selling author, coach, just a few of the many things that you do really well. But welcome. How are you this morning?
I am amazing. And I'm so excited to be here. You know, I've been a fan of the Bomb Bomb family for years and years. So this is like a dream come true for me. Full circle. I'm so excited. And I'm so excited we have so many people that are joining us. So many amazing humans on the other side of the screen. I wish we could see and connect with all of you. This is going to be an incredibly fun webinar. And I guarantee it's going to be something different than you probably were even expecting. So I'm tuning in here from Arizona today. I'm in my home office. I usually am traveling, so I'm super excited to be here. Been in the industry 22 years. I was a real estate agent for many of those before social media existed. So we are going to rock and roll on social content, video content, limiting beliefs. I am ready to take off.
This is so good. I'm so excited. We are so thrilled that you're here and that you just have supported Bomb Bomb so much over the years. I can see we've already got people chatting in where they're from. We've got people, I think, in as many states as you've been in this week, Chelsea, with all of your travel.
Yeah, that's a lot.
She's probably been somewhere close to everybody here at some point this week. Ray Ross, brand, community, marketing specialist. How are you this morning? Thanks for being here.
I am so good. Energized on 2 cups of espresso. So excited to be here and learn a little bit more from Chelsea because she is the social media expert team. You guys are going to love what she has prepared for you. And well done you, Kevin, on building out the slide deck to bring beautiful visual aid to the value that Chelsea's providing. A little bit about me. I've been at Bomb Bomb for about 5 years. Used to be an onboarding manager, training some of you. I've probably seen some of you in my trainings. And now, just like Kevin said, I work in brand and community marketing. Absolutely love it. Have personally recorded over 10,000 personal video messages under my belt. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions or looking for a little one-on-one training. I gotcha.
Ray, I'm so glad you're here. You've got so much knowledge. You've covered so many different roles in your time here that you just have such a really good perspective from all sorts of different things. You've worked one-on-one. You're doing a lot of social stuff now. So I'm just so thrilled that you're here. For those of you that are regulars of ours, you know me pretty well. I'm Kevin Andrews. I'm the client enablement manager here. Our normal face of Alicia is actually out right now. She's enjoying some just self-time to really lean into herself and her kiddos. So we're thrilled for that. Quick housekeeping stuff, and then let's dive in because I always hate when people waste a ton of time at the beginning of a webinar. Chat. We've already got chat flying down there. You can see that's a great place for all of us to talk to each other. If you see people asking questions that you feel like you have some context and knowledge on, throw it in there. That's what that's for. You know, we are all about community here at Bomb Bomb, so please use chat for that. The other feature that people don't necessarily see as much is the Q&A feature. Really, really great. If you're like, I've got a question that I have a feeling a lot of people have, and I don't want it to get just blown past in chat. You can see chat gets cranking sometimes when we've got 825 people in our webinar like we do right now. So please feel free to put those really poignant ones in Q&A. An anonymous attendee just threw a great one in that teed me up perfectly. Yes, we are recording this webinar. We will record it. We will be emailing it to you afterwards. We know there's a lot of information in these webinars. Our goal is for you to really find 1, 2, 3 nuggets that you go, those are things I can be actionable with right now. But when we have special guests that are experts like Chelsea, and we've got Ray on here, it's hard to figure out what those things are. So we'll send that to you so you can review it. Absolutely. I think that's all the Q&A. Oh, one last quick thing about the chat. If you don't change, there's that little blue bar over where you type your chat message. Make sure you change it to everyone. I think it automatically just starts you with hosts and panelists. I want everybody to see this stuff. That's all about the community piece there. So yeah, all right. I think that's all I got for the housekeeping stuff. Let's dive in and kind of talk about what we're covering today. So obviously we're talking about some of the social media pieces. How are we going to break that down? First and foremost, we're just going to talk about video, power of video. For all of you that are more quantitative thinkers and like numbers and stats, you're going to love this section of the webinar, I promise. For those of you that are more qualitative, emotional like myself, you'll always find lots of value because that's where we lean so much. But we're going to talk about some self-limiting beliefs, maybe what's held you back from posting as much as you want to or think that you should. And then we're going to really get to the nuts and bolts with kind of those tips for tackling social media. How do I start this? How do I take my social media to the next point? So whether you've been doing it or not, you're going to find some stuff that will be really good for you. And then, of course, we always give you first steps. We always give you a little bit of homework. How can you start on this so that this isn't just good information? It's actually really actionable stuff that you can jump on. So before we jump into that real quick, I'm going to launch a poll for you that I want you guys to fill out. We'll take, 45 seconds and I'll launch this real quick. And it really is kind of asking you that question where you're talking about the self-limiting beliefs. What is the top reason that you have not been posting more videos on social media? What's kind of been holding you back there? You can see there's a lot of different perceptions and thoughts that people have. These are just a few of them. I'm sure there are more, but go ahead and take a second here and throw a vote in and we'll give it a little bit. Ray, while people are voting, what kind of stands out to you? What's been something that maybe as you're posting more and more, you've had some hesitation with?
Well, first of all, the topics here, I hear all the time, and I have felt at one point or another. Personally speaking, I'm afraid of the unkind comments. As a people pleaser, if somebody doesn't like what I have to say, or I don't come off as intelligent to the vast majority of people, I feel like I'm not doing right by people and it inhibits me from posting. So yeah, and I'm really excited to talk about how to get started with that. Just like you said, Chelsea has already given some really great insight in previous conversations that we've had. So I think you guys are going to love that.
Well, Chelsea, you're going to love this. So I just ended that poll. I'm going to share these. Look at what the resounding top one was. I don't know what to post. Do you have thoughts around that at all, Chelsea? I'm curious.
I do actually have thoughts around that. So yes, that is the top question. And the funny thing is that I already knew what the top two were going to be. I knew that it was going to be, I don't know what to post. And I'm not surprised that that is actually higher than I don't like the way I look and sound on video, because obviously this crowd has embraced their recorded selves. And we'll talk about recorded selves versus actual self and what's going on there. But I am not surprised at all, because we hear this all the time. Okay, I get it. I just don't know what to post. I'm overwhelmed with content. I'm too busy. I'm not a full-time content creator. I am out here doing my business, building my brand, and connecting with and serving clients. So how am I going to be posting all the time? First of all, we don't want you to create and post all the time. We want you to be efficient, right? So we'll talk a lot about that too. Big believer here in protecting your boundaries, your mental and emotional health as well. We're going to talk about doing this without burnout, sustainable. There are no rules. When people have me speak, they're expecting rules on best time to post, how many hashtags should I use? We can talk about all of that. I've had the opportunity of working directly with Facebook and Instagram, but we're going to empower you to create the best program for you and your day.
I think I'm going to pull up a notepad. Absolutely. I'm going to start taking notes for myself, Chelsea. I'm getting all jazzed up and excited. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll be talking a lot about limiting beliefs, in addition to how to really wrap your arms around figuring out how to tell your story, because I understand my favorite quote of all time, and I'm going to share this right now. Yeah. My favorite quote of all time, and this absolutely changed how I think about creating content. And I just want to let you know too, I'm not one of those people that batch creates all of my content 30 days in advance and it constantly feels inspired. I'm worried about running out of ideas too. And I've been making content every day for years. I wrote a book called What to Post because it was the number one question I got. I'm human. I'm an overthinker. I'm a perfectionist. I have imposter syndrome from time to time. So it is totally appropriate and okay and normal that you are a wonderful human being, a perfectly imperfect human who's going to make content for other perfectly imperfect humans on the other side of the screen. So we are going to talk about content and how to understand your story. And going back to my favorite quote, okay, I'm going to say this twice because this is an important quote.
Okay.
People come for the plot and they stay for the character. People come for the plot and they stay for the character. The problem is most of us don't think we're a character worth staying for. We feel like our life is boring. My industry is boring. What would I possibly say? Oh gosh, I don't care what so-and-so had for lunch. Why am I going to post that? Why am I going to post these things that have nothing to do with what my expertise is? How is that going to help me grow an engaged community and generate more business? So that's part of those limiting beliefs that we'll cover too. So we're going to dive into content for sure. I'm going to give you some visual examples because I learn visually. So we have that coming up.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's fly through some of just kind of the power of video stuff. We're gonna now, just for context as well, because we're BombBomb, we're gonna be talking about kind of personalized video as well, right? We're gonna be focusing a lot on social media side since we do have Chelsea here with us, but know that some of this is just general video stuff as well. So these initial stats that I pulled up here are just kind of video in general, right? 85% of people are saying videos help them connect with brands more effectively. 87% are reporting that using video increases lead conversion. 55% of marketers claim that video marketing has an average ROI. 41% of marketers reported has a high ROI. What is that? 96% are saying it's an average to a high ROI. That's pretty good, right? That's a pretty high number. So video, I think a lot of people got really excited through COVID and quarantine and those sort of things. And then we've gotten back to normal life, whatever that means now. And they're going, is it still going to be pertinent? Is video dying? Is it not dying? No, video is not dying. It's not going anywhere. It's very powerful from a marketing standpoint, from a personalized, more human-centered level, like we preach all the time, hugely powerful on social media. So let's look at kind of the video versus text. How does it make it powerful in that sense? I love the retention stuff. I mean, Ray, you and I have talked about this how many times with clients over the years. Chelsea, I see you nodding your head, right? How much more can we retain of a message when we're watching it on a video compared to just reading the text? Well, we're processing in so many different ways, right? Not all of us are visual processors. Some of you are, and that's great. That's why we make slides, so you can read those and understand those. I'm an emotional person. I'm a visual person. I like to hear things. Some people are kinesthetic learners where they like to do to learn. Video gives us a lot more of those aspects to connect with more people in more ways. So it helps us retain a heck of a lot more. You can see the other ones there that we talked about, the visual learners, but people are 27 times more likely to click on an online video than a static banner ad. That's awesome. Let's take advantage of that. That's just standard behavior stuff, right? So now let's bleed a little bit into the social media side. Social videos generate 12,000% more shares than text and image content combined. Holy cow, right? And we're going to be talking about sites like Instagram that was only pictures and images for a long time. They've started to make hard pivots and transitions to video because they felt this and saw this coming. LinkedIn has started to make big transitions to starting to push video more because they're feeling this coming, right? It's more effective. You get more of the reach that we're going to be talking about in a little bit here. Marketers say they like marketing videos on social media. It gets them the biggest ROI of any of the things that they post. And then 79% of brands claim that they've landed a new customer from their Instagram account alone. I have personal people that I've talked to. Chelsea, I'm sure you've done this in building your business up, right? It's amazing where you will connect with people. Those of you that are friends of Gary Vee, he's enormous on TikTok. He's all about TikTok, and people, you would be shocked at where you can connect with people. People are building business through all this sort of stuff. So that's kind of the wide video side of it. So we know this. We looked at the poll earlier of this is why people aren't posting, but there's power to it. So this is where we kind of start to butt heads and go, how does all of this make sense from a psychological standpoint? Well, that's where we get to some of these pieces, right? What's holding us back? So you guys knew I was teeing you up a little bit with that poll that we were going to talk about some of these things. Chelsea, expand on some of these as we're going through this idea of video not being professional, or social media maybe in general not being professional. You said something in some stuff that I've watched of yours that really blew me away, that I'll tee you up with. This human is professional idea, but please dive into this deeper.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how I got here too, because as I mentioned before, I got my license for real estate in 2001 B F. The BF stands for before Facebook. So I did business the old fashioned way for many, many years because we didn't have social media. Now, no matter what industry you're in, when you're on this call, whether you're selling insurance or you're in mortgage or any other kind of industry, you remember that as early as the early 2000s. I mean, that wasn't that long ago. I guess I keep thinking it's more like 5 years ago, but you know how time flies. We had to actually have someone's email in order to connect with them. We had to have their phone number. And then imagine people actually answering their phone when you called or calling you back. And I had to pay because, you know, we would send mailers, which absolutely work as well. But we didn't have social media back then. So we had to use all of these tools and have some sort of contact portal. And now with social media, we have an opportunity to connect with people without using any of those things. You don't need to have an email address. You don't have to have a phone number. You don't even have to be connected with somebody to initiate a conversation through a direct message on the platforms, and depending on privacy settings, of course. And so there is a lot to learn. It's always evolving, but I want to let you know that I've been in your shoes and I didn't grow up with the Internet of Things. I did not have social media. I am not a digital native. I had the phone cord that was 12 feet long that ran around the entire kitchen. I, you know, went to the library and had to use the Dewey Decimal System in the card catalog. So there is hope for all of us if you didn't grow up with the Internet of Things. Now, I want you to drop into the comments here. And I love that our comments are our chat is just absolutely on fire. Thank you for that. It feeds all of us who are here to see the activity in the chat. So thank you. I want to know, what social media platform am I talking about? So let me give you the lay of the land, and then you type in what you think the social media platform is that I'm talking about. Now, if you know this answer because you follow me, don't ruin it for anyone. Don't pop it in there. But if you don't know, this is what we want to do. I had an app change my life, and I'm going to talk about how it changed my life and why this involves with human is professional. I remember I started using this app that was camera based. And I would say it was probably, you know, more fun, casual content, video, vertical video. And I remember people saying, "What the heck are you doing over there? My kids are on that. Like, why would you even waste your time? Like, can you even build a brand? You're not going to generate business happening over there. Oh, it's just all entertainment and fun and games and silliness and all of that, right?" I love it. Okay. I see a lot of TikTok. And I'm telling you this because it wasn't TikTok. But I want you to know that that's what we always think. It was actually Snapchat, which I know it's kind of hard to believe now because we're in a world where video is so common. We have Instagram stories, we have TikToks, we have Reels, we have live video. For the last 3 years, we've all been spending time on Zoom. So now it's become very commonplace. But Snapchat was the original. That was the first time we opened up our camera, and there we were. We had to actually make content with us in it. And so I remember thinking when TikTok came out, shame on me because I said, "Oh, geez, this isn't for me. this, I don't know how professional this is. I don't know if this is going to get me clients." And I remembered, wait a minute. This is a platform we need to look at. How can we create relationships? How can we create and share your brand and your message at scale instead of one-to-one, which you are already doing so beautifully with BombBomb? How do we take what you are doing and creating those relationships and make it one-to-many? Now, not every person who's going to view your video is going to become a relationship, and that's okay. We want you to be reaching the right targeted audience who do want to connect with you. So as I was using Snapchat, I started finding myself really connecting with these people. And I thought, well, that's weird because I'm like a responsible mom and I feel like it's weird meeting strangers on the internet. Is that safe? And what happened is after about 2 years, and I remember telling my husband, I'd say, "Oh my gosh, you'll never believe what happened with Shannon's kids." And he's like, "Who's Shannon?" I'm like, "Well, it's my friend from Snapchat." And he's like, "Those people aren't real. You don't know that person." I'm like, "No, I know this person." And my journey sent me on a year-long journey of really understanding what the heck is happening when our brain sees another person's face on the other side of a screen. And the punchline is that our brain has no idea that it's looking at somebody on a screen or if that person's right here next to us. And so this concept of, I don't want to be on social media or a particular platform because it may or may not be, quote, professional, has kept coming up. And then I ask people, listen, do you want to work with somebody who has empathy? I do. Do you want to work with somebody who's compassionate? Yes, please. Do you want to work with somebody who's honest? Yes, absolutely. It's a must. Those things are uniquely human. Those things are uniquely human. And what happens is, and we're going to get into this in the limiting beliefs soon, if you're feeling frustrated with social media, we're going to talk about how it might be related to how you're showing up digitally versus physically and how those aren't aligning. Because what I can't do is I can't connect on a human emotional level with a beautifully edited graphic made in a graphic design template with no human being and possibly a stock photo and a logo. So we have to think about, how are we showing up as the human on these pieces of technology, which, by the way, the pandemic has absolutely accelerated that, because we have been being forced to communicate. Not saying it's better. We want to be in the physical. That's the ultimate, right? That is the ultimate way to connect. This is the next best thing. And there are ways that you can be bringing that humanity to technology.
I mean, that aligns so much with what we preach constantly here at BombBomb is you don't need to be produced. You don't need to spend all this money on equipment. You don't need to do all of these things for you to be in front of people. In fact, one of the jokes I always make about that is, when's the last time you watched the 5 o'clock news and you were like, man, I really want to get to know that news anchor better, right? Like never, because they're like perfectly polished and they're scripted and the makeup's great. And it's not saying that's bad. I'm not judging news anchors in the slightest, but they're not necessarily people we feel like we connect directly with, versus I just rolled out of bed and I'm recording a video and that sort of stuff. And I'm comfortable there. I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but we've all been there. We've all felt that. We can all relate to those sort of things. So I just love that you brought up kind of that simple human element here. I'm going to pull up kind of the rest of some of these self-limiting beliefs and would love to hear. I mean, if you want to touch on, of course, we're going to talk about content, which was the number one overwhelming thing in the poll. But which one of these, which ones stand out to you? Maybe talk a little bit about that self-representation that you brought up as well, because I think that's a really interesting concept that I hadn't heard before as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to tackle the big one, which I know you always talk about, because I understand that while you know that your video that you're sending through BombBomb is going to one human being that you probably already know, it's a little bit less intimidating and vulnerable than sending it out to the world. And I totally understand that. And if you feel vulnerable, then congratulations, you are a human. And that's awesome. So that's what Ray was talking about. She's feeling vulnerable, putting herself out into the world, creating content, because not everybody may agree with Ray. Not everybody may like, that she likes to have ranch with pizza. I don't know, Ray, if you do. A controversial topic like that, or because it's almost Halloween. I love candy corn. I know half of the audience is like, oh, that's disgusting. Nobody likes candy. I love candy corn. Now, so let's talk about the video fear, because it can be different when you're going one to many versus one to one. And so to that, I say, we're going to talk about things in a digital versus physical way. And I mentioned this earlier. Most people, when they say, I'm so frustrated, I've been posting, I feel like I'm doing the things you're telling me to do. And let's look at your content. And then I'm like, I know exactly what's happening. You're showing up different digitally than you would in the physical world. And when people say, oh no, I'm not a video person. Maybe I can send a video to someone I know, but I'm not going to be able to put that in there. Right. I can't. So that's like saying you're going to go to a meeting with a potential client at Starbucks and you're sitting across the table and they ask you a question and all of a sudden you're diving under the table and they're like, is everything okay under there? And then you're like, oh yeah, no, I just can't have people look at me while I talk. Right? That's how it's in the physical world. Now, another one I get all the time that's not on this list is, great, I'm busy. I know I need to do social media. Who can I outsource it to? Again, digital versus physical. what would you do? Where's the disconnect?
Mm.
Yes, you can outsource a lot of things, and you should. There's ways to automate. There's also ways to over automate. And I want to mention this example. My kiddo plays baseball. And what if this Friday, instead of me showing up in the stands, I sent my neighbor and I told my neighbor, hey, he's going to look over every time he hits and just wave at him. Say, great job. Your mom's thinking about you, right? It wouldn't be the same experience. You can't outsource you. You are the brand, and we want to connect with the human being as we learn from you, as we build that like, know, and trust. Those are some examples of how we might be showing up differently, or those limiting beliefs or excuses you might be telling yourselves, or stories that often keep us from getting online. This one that says, what if my competitors see me? Okay. Competition. What if they take my idea? What if they copy me? Okay. So here's one thing I will tell you. There is really hardly any original content. If you even think about movies, they're all kind of like the same arc, right? There's really not that much original content on the planet. Your only original content, your shot for making content original and unique, is you being in it and sharing your personal perspective, your advice, your story, your lived experience, wins and challenges. That's unique. Nobody can tell your story. And another thing is, it's like, goodness, like, it's 2023 almost, right? And so there's really no hiding content if you are going to be posting it on social media. Now, if you're going to be creating a course and you're going to be putting it behind a wall where people have to sign up and pay, absolutely. So I also think that collaboration over competition, I have made some incredible relationships, especially if you are in an industry where you can refer business across different areas. You may find that that's actually a really great way to build your relationships and business. And then as far as, the what if nobody agrees with what I say, I will say personally, for me, this is one of the hardest things because, Ray, I guess I'm a people pleaser too. And yeah, it's really scary and vulnerable when you have to have an opinion and a perspective. And I will tell you that think about the people that you all follow. Think about the people you connect with on social, or maybe it's a podcast, or maybe it's a specific author. So it doesn't have to be on technology. Why do you connect with that person? Because they have a unique perspective that you align with. And not everybody aligns with that person's perspective. Yeah. And so when we do open ourselves up and to have that perspective and that opinion, that's really where you start to own your brand. And there are going to be people that disagree with it. And it can be on any topic. I'm telling you, this is funny. I was making a story about, I don't know, peanut butter. I was making a sandwich or something like that. And I love chunky peanut butter, not the smooth peanut butter. And people lost their mind. They were like, oh my gosh, how could you possibly love chunky peanut butter? So there's always going to be people, but let's talk again about physical versus digital. Are there people in the physical world that don't agree with your perspectives? Probably. Yeah. So these are all things that we tell ourselves, stories. I hear it all the time where I only want to talk about business on my social. I don't know what to say. I'm not scripted. I'm new. I'm not an expert yet. That's like saying, well, I went to the gym once and I didn't lose 10 pounds, so I'm just not going to go back. Or what would you tell, the younger version of yourself or your kiddo? And my kid's taking violin lessons right now. And he's like, I'm giving this up. I've taken 12 violin lessons and it's horrible. No, we wouldn't do that. We would encourage and say, we've got to practice. We got to keep getting better. Right. So absolutely.
I love all of those examples. I'm a total like metaphor person. So I love how you're drawing connections to, oh, that's how I can relate. That's exactly what Chelsea's saying to do online. Connect with people, find ways that they can understand your perspective. I would be really curious. This is a little bit of a segue, and then we're going to jump into kind of the tactical tips and tricks here in just a sec. But something that I've been watching come up a lot in chat as you've been talking about this is, yeah, I did this and got all sorts of mean comments. All of the activity I got was really mean, and I had to build thick skin and those sort of things. What is your recommendation? Because those things will come if you post enough, unfortunately. Um, how do you recommend responding or handling that when those kind of things come? Are you more of an ignore type mentality and focus on the positive? I know it's a kind of broad left field question, but I'm just curious if you have any advice on that, on how you would respond to those kind of things.
I think too, it depends on the platform, because I find that
Sure.
happens more on certain platforms than others. And I, first of all, am very focused about curating the types of content that I consume. I want positive, uplifting, and I seek out that and tell the system I don't want to see other things. So I start there. Then what I would say is that if anybody is just completely inappropriate, do not feel bad about blocking, reporting, and deleting.
Mhm.
This is your space. This is your boundary. Never feel bad about that. And it's really up to the person. Like, I've had people that have disagreed with, like, let's say I'm doing a video about hashtags, or let's say you're doing a video about the market shifting in real estate and you think it's a great time or an opportunity and somebody doesn't. Sometimes those disagreements or those different perspectives could really help open up an interesting conversation. And you might
Sure.
say, I didn't think about that. And then there are people that are just probably, you probably don't know them. And they might just be having, not a great day, or, we talked about Gary V. Gary says, gosh, you really feel bad for those people that are taking time to say something negative to someone and not uplift them when they could just keep on scrolling, right?
Yeah.
So it's really up to the person on if you want to address it. I do have friends that do address people. I am kind of that person where I am so protective of my mental and emotional space. I don't put up with any of that. And we block, we delete, we are not. And I, have a community of people that I know would protect me too and say,
Sure.
wait a minute, what are you no, this is not, we will not stand for this. So and thankfully, generally speaking, it's very rare that I have anything that is said to me that is negative. Sometimes difference of opinions, which is actually, I've said, you know what, I didn't think about that way. That's a really good thing. So I'm lucky that I have not experienced, any kind of cyberbullying of any kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ray, did you have something to add to that?
I do. Chelsea, a lot of what you're talking about, there is an underlying psychological component that I really want to highlight. So I love what you said about what if my competitors see me? There's another thing that I hear from trusted advisors that I've worked with that's, I don't want to give my secrets away.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the interesting thing about these industries: mortgage, finance, real estate, insurance, all of them. You do not have trade secrets. There are no trade secrets. All of you have the exact same information that you can talk about it. To highlight what Chelsea said, it is the way that you communicate about those trade secrets. And here's another thing. Neurologically speaking, we all have different realities. Every single one of you has a different perception and a different reality from this conversation that we're having right now. And when you share that different perception and that different reality, what you're doing is you're bringing a unique perspective to the same information. You can absolutely leverage that. Tevin, Chelsea, and I could have the exact same conversation with one person, and that one person will walk away feeling a little bit different in each of those conversations. So the unique value that you can provide is intrinsically the way that you think, feel, and respond to people, whether it be in person or in digital spaces.
You are the trade secret.
You are the trade secret.
You are. I mean, really, I know that sounds kind of, easy to say, but you're the secret sauce, really. And people say all the time, oh my gosh, why are you giving this all away? I'm like, why not? I mean, people could go and Google their face off to find out all the information. It's a lot of what I have to share is information that is available, but I've gone through it and I've given it my and then. Okay, so now that I've consumed it all, here's what my take on it is. Here's what I would recommend that you do. And so yeah, I agree with you. It's give it all away, help people build relationships by stepping forward and offering and connecting. And this beautiful thing happens that when you give and you give and you give, when you are ready to have that ask, something you don't even really, I mean, it's like you could just mention it and everyone's like, oh, I'm ready to work with you, or I want to send you a referral, or I want to buy your product, right? Because
Yeah.
you've shared and you've connected and you've been a human. Absolutely.
I love that. This is such good stuff. So let's get into kind of how do we
All
do this,
right,
right?
let's do it.
What are some real strategies? Because I know a lot of people there. Also, before we jump in, we are getting some great questions in the Q&A here. If you've submitted one in there, we're kind of tagging some stuff. Chelsea is being so gracious and said, you know what, I might be able to hang a little bit after our hour webinar today. I have a feeling we're going to fill up this hour and then a little bit. So
Yeah.
if you want to stick around for the Q&A to hear all of her stuff, we may be hanging around a little bit longer, but we're going to do the best we can to keep all the content in that hour for you. Just want to give you a heads up as we're looking through time and stuff. So first one, big question. I've already seen it in chat. I've already seen a Q&A. We've talked about all of the different social media platforms and stuff. One of the big questions is always, well, which one should I use? What's the best one? What's the right one, right? And so the tip that we kind of talked about, Chelsea, a little bit on this is find where your audience is. Find where your people are living, right? You don't want to go force your entire audience to go get Snapchat accounts. That is not going to be a seamless experience for them. But start to be really intentional with your target, your audience, your group. Find out where they are living the most. And that's where you can start to build kind of a foundation. What recommendations do you give to your clients when they're asking some of those questions, Chelsea?
So my recommendation is always to focus on one. Start with one. It could be one that you've used forever and you feel comfortable. For a lot of you, that might be Facebook. For some of you, it might be Instagram. I will personally tell you that I was very intimidated by Instagram. I actually hated Instagram, and now it's my favorite platform. So I just felt like it was so different, and there were so many different places, and it was changing all the time. And I'm like, oh, how do we keep up with this? And there's stories and feed and all of the things, and it was overwhelming. And it is overwhelming, but just like anything else, if we take the social media out of it, whatever role you're in, you had to learn the steps. You had to learn the pieces. And once you learned sort of one main area, you got to move on to learn the next one. So what I will say is that video in general is pretty similar across all the platforms. One of the major things that I would highly recommend that everyone on this call either writes down or starts doing is short form video. Now, even YouTube, which I know YouTube's not on here, but YouTube, which historically has been the long form content channel, right? Where you go and you search content and then you're watching a 10-minute video. You might be watching it on 1.5 speed, but you're going to watch a 10-minute video. Now, we're not going to watch a 10-minute video probably unless it's really interesting to us on, say, a TikTok or an Instagram. So short form video is short, probably under 90 seconds. Mine are usually around 30 to 40 seconds, short videos. Now, this is like your TikToks. This is your Instagram reels. This is your YouTube shorts. This is your Facebook reels. I don't know if LinkedIn will come out with this at all, but really, really focusing on short form content, because that is what used to be a trend and now it's the new normal. And if you're on Instagram, then you've seen it. They are pushing what are called Instagram Reels everywhere. And if you are using Instagram, the pro tip is 2 things I would be doing on the regular basis. Instagram stories, because Instagram stories are not usually seen by new people. This is where you nurture that community. This is where I think the secret sauce is in conversions, because you're having one-to-one human relationships and you're watching content that generally is unedited and real and authentic. So if you're only focused there, you'll not expand your message or your community. When you're using reels, those are going out to people primarily that don't know you. So now your content, especially think in terms of answering questions. Are you answering questions, creating content, answering the questions you get all the time? Number one, it's going to save you time and be more efficient because you can say, oh, I have a whole video series on X, Y, and Z, whatever your specialty is. And you can send people there and they can consume that content. The more they consume that content, the more that they'll see your content, which is awesome. And you are establishing yourself even further as a trusted advisor and a resource for that particular topic. So Instagram Reels is going out to many people that don't know you. Same thing with TikTok. Those are usually going out to people that don't know you. Now, you might think, I don't care about people that don't know me. Here's the cool part. The algorithms, basically how the computer system works, is working off of something called recommendations. It's looking at interactions that you have between people that you talk to through direct message and commenting. And it's looking at, what are you interested in? And not only what are you interested in, what is this video about? Is it about 3 things you need to know about life insurance? Okay, that's clear. We're going to send it to people who might be interested or have searched for that before. So the cool thing is that these videos are going to go out to not only people that don't know you, which means new followers, new potential relationships, but hopefully they should be going out to people that are potentially interested, which means they are targeted. They're not just people that may or may not be interested. Now, the other great thing about this too is that it has time to wake up, which means if you're posting stuff and you're like, oh, should I delete this? This didn't get the views that the last one got. No, because somebody could find your video in 2 months and it could say, wow, this is awesome. I needed to know this answer. And it could sort of wake up again. So with the new algorithms, I would say that really focusing on short form video and also stories. And luckily, most of the platforms have that now. That's where I would focus. Pick one. If you're already comfortable on one and you feel as though you can expand into another one, you can also repurpose some of your videos from platform to platform as well so that you can work smarter and not harder.
Okay, we're going to send you the recording of this webinar. Immediately rewatch the last 4 minutes that she just talked about. I am somebody that's decently active on social media. TikTok has been the one that I personally enjoy the most and have the most fun with. But my wife is really big on Instagram. I just learned new things, like 5 or 6 new things in that 4-minute chunk right there. This is really, really good stuff. I'm excited about it because just understanding, here's where I post this type, here's where reels versus stories, that can feel intimidating and can make us not start, right? That's a fear-based decision to not jump into something that could be beneficial because we don't know. Now we learned it. If you want to go into Instagram, you just learned a huge, valuable piece. I love that. I just got super jazzed up. Sorry. Let's jump to number 2 here because I know we've got about 15 minutes left and we've got 3 more tips for you. So here's where we're going to really get into some great stuff that Chelsea's got. This idea of teach and reach. Now, I'll leave this up. And then I also have a little quote from you that I learned in one of the things that I watched that I'm sure you'll touch on. But this idea of, we all know like, and trust. What about know, learn, and trust? We tie all of that together because I think this is so pivotal in what I actually respond to on social media.
Yes. And I do have a couple of examples that I might want to flip to as well.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
People are always asking me, they're like, okay, but like, how do I make my content have meaning, like, and actually do something? And so I'm going to I know what your slides are, so I'm going to actually incorporate it into this whole thing. So one thing I talk about is that a lot of times our content is missing something called context. Write that down. It's missing context. Well, what the heck is that? It's like when people say add value and you're like, well, of course I want to add value, but like, what does that look like specifically? Okay. So context is how you make the piece of content, the post, the caption, the video. How do you make it have meaning or connect with someone's head and their heart? So we have that emotional human piece of it. And maybe you're teaching me something. And I don't only want to make this a teach as far as education. It absolutely should be very educational based in your particular niche and industry. It can also be, wow, I just learned a really great leadership tip, or I just learned about a new podcast, or I just learned about this, right? So I like to think of it simple. Does it teach and does it reach? Now we're going to come back to that in just a moment. So now context, human. You are going to provide a context, your story, your perspective, your opinion, your voice, your face, right? It's also the emotional, the nonverbal communication, the warmth when you're on your videos and you're saying hello to people. And when we're on these Zooms, we don't see anyone. We only see like each other. And so we're really emoting, and I'm leaning into the camera like you're actually here. I talk with my hands. Great. Talk with if you talk with your hands, talk with your hands on video. So all of these things add context, little bit of formatting. So here's another tip. Our brains don't read the same way on social as we do in a book or anything like that. And so when you have content that might be something like, let's say, a text heavy PDF, maybe I'm just making up something, 10 tips for blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like newsletter like, and it has all this, tiny font. Well, our brain says, "Ooh, too many calories to burn there. I can't process that right now." And what happens, unfortunately, is they scroll past, and we don't want people to scroll past. And what stops the scroll is, I used to say a human, but I'm just going to say a living entity, because I stop for dog content too. I love some dog content. But really we stop and we're like, "Oh, I know that person," or yes. And so your brain is activated by that context, and you can really provide a lot of context with your old content by putting you in it if you haven't been in it. So go back and remake your old content. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just remix your old content, go back and look at the stuff that you've done. How could I make this a short form video? And there you go. So the other thing I'm going to tell you is that views don't equal value. Views don't equal value. So I know a lot of people get wrapped up in metrics and they're like, "Oh, but my views are down or my engagement's down." I will say this: if you feel like your engagement's down on Instagram or wherever else you might be, I'm going to ask you a question, and I might say, is it down or is it different? Is it down or is it different? Because here's what's happening. When we rely on a metric like views and followers and likes and all of that, what happens is we can get very discouraged because we see it change and go up and down. What's happening now with short form video and recommendation algorithms sending your content out to people that don't know you, think about how you engage with people you don't know yet. You probably don't engage with them right away. You watch probably passively and silently. And then the computer says, "Oh, you watched Kevin's video 3 seconds longer than anyone else's, but you didn't do anything. You didn't leave a metric. So Kevin has no idea that Chelsea watched the video. But now I'll see Kevin again, because that data was given to the system, and I'll see Kevin again. And then eventually after 3 or 4 times, I'm probably going to click and maybe follow. And then I'm going to build that learn, know, and trust. And so it's one of those things where I tell people that metrics change. What you can't measure are often the most important things, like the immeasurable aha moment that someone has when they watch your video and say, "Oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, I didn't know there was 2 different strategies between stories and reels. That was really helpful." And then they go on their merry way and they never let me know. Right? So it's really, really important to know that we can't put all of our eggs in one basket when it comes just to metrics. So the teach and reach is, okay, is this educational? Is there a reach? Because a lot of times our educational content may not have a human in it. It may not have your voice in it. It may not have your "and then this is what it means." If you're in mortgage, that is a complex topic. If you're in insurance, that is a complex topic. We want you to tell us and understand, "Oh, I did not ever think about a complex topic like that. That was so easy. Thank you." So those are some of the things that when I say teach and reach, that's what we're referring to, and adding context, which the easiest way to do it is to put you in it.
That's so good. And if you want to share your screen and show some of
Yeah.
your examples, I think that'd be
Yeah.
really good. And then I'll jump back and kind of just wrap it in a bow, hopefully. But
Yes.
one thing you touched on that I think is so important with social media is, and I even wrote it in chat because I was like, yes, we all need to hear that, is that the views do not determine value. I
Yes.
think views are 100% that vanity metric that we all want to see for ourselves. And I am as guilty of it as anybody.
Oh,
I'm not saying
totally.
I'm above this at all. It's like, oh, I got
Totally. Yeah.
I posted the dumbest video of all time on TikTok a couple months ago, and it got like 500,000 views. That is no value to literally anyone. It's the silliest, stupidest
That's
thing.
how it always
And
happens,
it blew
right?
everything else away, right? And then I put these like thoughtful things and no one
Here's
cares.
the
But
learning
people think,
lesson that you all are getting from Kevin right now that he doesn't realize he's teaching.
Uh-oh.
With this new recommendation algorithm, post it all. There is no more control group. It's not only going out to just people, if you're on TikTok and you're on Instagram and even Facebook now. So the overthinking, because I have stuff in drafts. I overthink. I'm like, this isn't my best work. I don't know. I feel like I've already talked about this. So post it all. And as somebody who's worked directly with Instagram, like I have been on a call with Instagram, that I will tell you, after 2.5 years of using Reels since day one, I can give you a couple best practices, but sometimes it's just random. So post it all. As long as it answers, it stays in your niche, it stays in your topic. If somebody that was your potential perfect client saw it, would they resonate with it? And it makes sense. Great. Let's do that. Okay. So let me share my screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, all of these are real estate and mortgage related. So keep that in mind, but it's all going to work for anything that you're doing. So I learn visually. I want to show some examples of how to take some of your content that may be good and how to make it great. So if you're in real estate or mortgage, you're going to know these examples. If you're in other industries, I want you to think about what you've been posting or what other people in your industry have been posting, because I'm pretty sure you're going to find something similar for any industry. Oh, right. Here we go. Let me pull this up and we're going to go to the slideshow. All right. So I'm sure that nobody in our industry has seen anything like this. Okay. And the funny thing is, I realized that when I made this, they're two totally different houses. The house at the bottom is not the inside of the house at the top, but I love that. Okay. This teach and reach. Is it teaching you anything? No, it's telling you about a house, but it's not teaching you anything. It's not educational. It's definitely not reaching. There's no human, there's no emotion, there's no lesson. There's nothing that I can connect with there. Let me show you how you can take this from good to great. And I want you to think about this idea, write it down. Tell me you're in your industry, in this case, real estate. Tell me you're in real estate without telling me you're in real estate. Tell me you're in mortgage without telling me you're in mortgage. Tell me you're in dentistry without telling me you're in dentistry, which means product placement. Product placement. You can talk about what you're doing and people will understand that if you mention you're on the way to an open house, that you are in real estate. So let me give you a beautiful example of my friend Desiree who did this. She's standing in a new build. She is a new build specialist. And what I love about it is that I'm not interested in a new build in Texas, which is where she lives, but I'm interested in seeing what she's up to because she's a friend of mine. I want to know about her workout. Oh my gosh, you love that toffee nut oat latte too. She's telling us, hey, I am an expert in this very small community who has had a wait list for 66 homes. And now I stopped because I know Desiree. I stopped because I know her, not because she has a beautiful Canva graphic with want to buy a new home. Here's some stats, call me, and a logo. And by the way, I love Canva, so I certainly use it all the time. How about this, right? Tips, stats. You know that we're, creating content that helps people understand the tips and the stats. If you are in mortgage, you probably have very similar rates to a lot of people. If you are in real estate, you have the same inventory as everybody else in your MLS. So this is not unique content. Now, this is a teach. It's not a reach. It's a teach, not a reach. How do we turn that into something else? How about this one? Well, first of all, you can see Shivani is in everything. It's her. It's that I know Shivani, and I know every time she's going to talk about complex topics like financial literacy. And it doesn't sound very exciting because people are like, oh, my content's boring. Nobody wants to talk about insurance. Well, I don't want to learn about financial literacy on Instagram either, but she makes it really easy to do. And so I love that she's using short form video. She's in it and she's talking to her specific community. And it says, ladies, pay attention. Her ideal client is a woman who is purchasing a home. Great. We love that. Okay, let's do a few more. Okay. New listing or whatever beautiful graphic you might have. Okay, it's lovely, but I don't teach, I don't reach. This is a neither. And so what we could do is my friend Amy, because she loves to do TikToks and short form videos again, she is putting her humor, her entertainment into this gorgeous home. And let's be honest, you see Amy in the middle first, and then you're like, oh, wow. And look at those beautiful built-ins. And I told her, I go, Amy, you sort of look like Elf on the Shelf. I love it. Okay, I'm going to give one more and then we'll go back to the conversation. Okay. Another whole home sold, or whatever else this might be for in your industry. I mean, I don't know that we have any dentists on here, but if we did, it would be something like 132 sets of teeth cleaned this year. Okay. All right, great. But this doesn't teach, it doesn't reach. So how do we turn it from good to great? This is my friend Nicole. She goes by the Hungry Realtor. Now, Nicole loves red wine and I love red wine. So that's how we're connected here, right? And what I love about this, and I'm going to read it because I know you can't probably see the line below. The first line says, celebrated opening escrow, and talked about why she's celebrating. It doesn't say just opened escrow at 123 Elm Street. This is a human being that makes me stop. And then I'm like, oh, cheers. Congratulations, friend. And I don't know a lot about escrow. I'm pretending that I don't, but I know that escrow has to do with real estate. Oh, you must be in real estate. Great. Awesome. So those are some examples that I wanted to share of how we take good content and give it some context, and how we can kind of tell some of those stories. And I know we're probably going to have to come back to do an entire content storytelling episode upcoming, because that's a lot to cover in just a couple of minutes there.
Well, but there's so much great stuff in that. I mean, I was even looking at that last example going, what's great about this is it gives me the opportunity to ask questions about what I am curious about, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm like, oh, what wine were you drinking? Now we've created a really human conversation where we can build relationship and rapport.
Absolutely. It's called the oh, by the way. This is why I tell everybody, I say, well, I always hear this, and I'm joking a little bit, but let's be honest, you've thought it. Oh, I don't care what so-and-so had for lunch. I'm not going to post what I had for lunch. How is that going to help me get more business? I'm like, okay, what if we thought about, here's why I care what someone had for lunch. Fill in the blank. It doesn't have to be lunch. It could be you went for your walk this morning, right? Because when you're creating content that's human and relatable, and there's magic in the mundane, as human beings, we talk about mundane things at the dinner table. We're connecting. We're fascinated by seeing into other people's lives. And it's not even anything interesting. Reality TV in the 90s, the real world, right? I mean, all of us Gen Xers, we watched that with we were hanging on a thread. There was not a script. There was no storyline. We were just watching people. So it's really important to remember that there's magic in the mundane. And as you're creating content that is just about, oh my gosh, I got my new water thing that keeps it cold, it starts the, oh, by the way, where people are like, oh my gosh, we just got the Yeti one, or there's a Yeti knockoff at Target. It works even just as good. It's half the price. Oh, by the way, Kevin, I saw you were talking about this class that you were teaching and I wanted to sign up for it. The, oh, by the way. It's the, oh, by the way, where people are going to talk to you about something that has nothing to do with what you do or your industry. It's the human connection. And because they're seeing you and because they feel comfortable, there is a no barrier of entry to say, oh, by the way.
A great example I personally have had in that is somebody posted some food or something they were eating one time, which, don't get me wrong, I've also probably in my mind judged people for doing that at some point, but I saw it.
Judgy,
yeah. And my wife and I were trying to plan a date night, and I was like, where should we go? And then I was like, John posted about something the other day. I was back on his page looking for the food, and he's a realtor. I'm being reminded that he's in that industry by scrolling through all of his stuff, right? So love that. All right, let's fly through some tips and stuff. We're at our hour. And then anybody that wants to stick around for some Q&A after we do some quick stuff to finish up here, that's great. So just to tie everything up, teach and reach, make sure you're doing both of these things. Chelsea just gave us some great examples of those, but here's some ways to kind of think through, am I teaching? What are some different ways? It's not about always information. It's teaching them about you. It's teaching about lots of different things when it comes to that. The third one was the whole context element. You are the context. You are what brings something different to that content. Kind of talking back before, we were saying, you're not going to bring up brand new content that nobody's ever thought of in this world, right? The internet, there is way too much stuff out there to be like, there are light bulb moments here and there, but let's be real. So you bring that context. And just to kind of reiterate on this definition that you said, Chelsea, that I love is, It's about having meaning in someone's head and somebody's heart, right? I think that's so vital. My dog's coming in to be a part of our webinar because he just really wants to be. You know, you said you watch dog stuff, so there we go.
I love a dog. Where's the dogs? Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one that you mentioned as well is tell me you're in your industry without telling me you're in your industry. That doesn't need to be the forefront of every piece you do. I do want to show one quick example that I pulled up, and Glenda Baker, I know, Chelsea, this is somebody that you are friends with, familiar with, have some sort of connection with. But I found this video just because I think it's really, really great. She's telling she's in real estate, but she's not making it about, oh, I'm a realtor, I just sold this home. She's giving a real personal life story. So I'm going to play this. It's like 30 seconds long, and then we'll get through kind of the next steps for you guys real quick here.
So once upon a time, I sold a big ass house and I made $137,000 in commission on that one house. And rather than taking that money and investing it in real estate, I went and bought a brand new Mercedes. I went on a shopping spree and I pissed that money away. Instead of buying a townhouse on Lenox Road, it was right in the middle of foreclosure season. I could have bought that townhouse for $100,000. That townhouse today, that in 1995 was $100,000, is $1 million. That Mercedes is worth zero, and those clothes don't fit. This is a cautionary tale.
I mean, we can all connect with some of those things.
I'm glad that you brought
That's
up Glenda
gold.
because Glenda is a friend of mine and she is, I mean, she's a personality and, you know, her personality is very different than my personality. Our content is very different. So we also want you guys to know that you can make your own content. Glenda loves to just tell it like it is for Glenda. She definitely has no problem sharing a perspective. What I want to mention about this is that Glenda was not looking at the camera. And I want to talk a little bit about that because when I coach people about being on camera, I say, make eye contact with the camera, which is up here. Now I'm kind of looking at you guys on the side because you're on my side over here. But people say, I said, Glenda, you're doing it wrong. You're not even looking at the camera. But now she can't because it's part of her brand. Well, she was so terrified to get on camera that she had to have somebody sitting across from her in order to do it. And now what has happened is it's become part of her brand. So what I will tell you is that it could be whatever your brand is. Generally speaking, I recommend that everybody looks at the camera, which if you're on your phone is all the way up here, not at the reflection in your own eye so that you can make eye contact, that human connection in the video. And now I know too, because I've known, you know, her videographer who's incredible, that now the idea is that they want you to feel like you're eavesdropping on someone's conversation, like you're an insider. For me, I make content that looks very real, unedited, and authentic. One, because I don't want people to be intimidated by video. Two, because I want you to feel like you're in my stories with me, even if it's not a story. So keep that in mind. But general best practice is I would look at the camera.
You know what's so good about that story though is she took something that could have been a fear, could have been a hindrance, a hurdle, something that didn't even it stopped her from recording altogether. And that's now part of her brand. That's who she is. She listened to the people that this is what they like. This is what they don't like. This is how I can do it. And she pushed through those things. That's just super encouraging in so many ways. So for those of you that are going, either I'm new or I'm worried about content. This is something that Chelsea I literally stole this slide directly from you because I think it's so good. Take a picture of this slide on your screen right now. Yes, we will send you a recording. Yes, I will send you this slide deck. Do not wait for that. Take a picture right now. These are amazing questions that you can ask yourself to what should my content be? What can I post? What value can I bring? If you're starting to take some of that information from Instagram that I was blown away by with the reels versus stories, what do I put where, right? If you're trying to simplify this, start asking yourself these questions because I guarantee you have answers to some of these.
Yeah, this is to kind of help you get over that limiting belief of I don't have anything to say and I'm not interesting. And you may not even use any of this content, but it's an exercise to almost get out of yourself, outside of yourself, because we're just too close to our own story. You're an expert at what you do. And I don't know what you do because I'm not an expert. So regardless of whatever industry you're in, sometimes we take for granted, what is it? It's called the curse of knowledge or something, right? You've heard that, where it's like, you know, so much about what you do. It's almost challenging to step back and be able to create content for somebody who has no idea what you do. Now, this is one tiny little page from my free guide. You can grab it on my Instagram. I do hope we all connect on Instagram. I know you have a slide coming up for that. I have a 21-page content guide. Yes, generally it's more leaning towards real estate and mortgage, but all of my strategies work for literally any, as long as you're a human and you're making content, it will work for you in that content.
It's so good. I mean, keep it simple. Think about
Yeah.
what you know. What value do you bring? What are questions you get asked all the time?
Yes.
that
Keep it in your
people need
phone.
to
I keep
know?
it in my phone and
Yes.
I just keep all the questions people ask you. Here's another tip. What are the top 3 to 5 questions people always ask you? You know, like if I'm teaching an Instagram class, I know people are going to ask me about hashtags. So I make content around that. But I also want you to think about what are the questions that you don't get asked, but you need your clients to really know about. Nobody asks me about recommendation algorithms, but I know you need to know about that. So I also make content about that too. So questions you're asked, questions you're not asked, but want to address, and anything that's gone wrong, challenges, always a point for content as well. You know, just the general topic. Certainly we're not suggesting that you share people's exact experiences, but yes, so write those down, keep them. If you like a notebook, that's okay. I love a notebook too. I like old school. If you like digital, keep it in, you know, your phone.
Awesome. So what are your guys' takeaways from this? I'm sure you have a million already because Chelsea has just been throwing bombs left and right of things that I'm already going, oh, I've got to remember and learn that. But let's simplify this, right? Go through those questions, pick one thing out, answer it, record a video, post it. If you don't have an account, pick the one where your audience lives. Start your account. Those are great first, simple, easy steps. I've been seeing lots of questions in chat and a few in the Q&A about like, well, what if I don't know how to do all of those technical things? Then don't get hung up on the 3rd, 4th, 5th level stuff. Let's start somewhere, right? Let's just start getting content out. And maybe people will really connect with the simplicity of your videos because there are so many overcomplicated technical videos. We don't know until we get it out there and we listen, right? So just start there. It's a really, really good place to start that I want to encourage all of you to lean into a little bit more. So I do want to look, you know what? I don't even know if I put the second poll on here. Oh, I do. I'm going to throw one other poll up right now because this kind of reflects some of our follow-up, some of our call to actions for you guys, some of the next steps. We're also curious from a BombBomb perspective, how are you using it right now? We know not everybody here is somebody that even has a BombBomb account. Like maybe they don't even know how you ended up on this webinar. That's fine. We're glad you're here. We're thrilled that you're a part of this discussion. But we're also curious. We want to point you in the right directions based on what your needs are. While I'm going to let that run, we have been seeing some questions of, can I use my BombBomb videos and post those on social? You can, but I'm also going to tell you, put your videos live on those social platforms. BombBomb does not have to be your only source of video, right? Put them on Instagram. In fact, you can't post videos from BombBomb on Instagram because they don't allow those outside links, right? So it's okay to not use BombBomb video for everything. BombBomb's great for the one-to-one communications, the personal videos, the emailing of videos, the texting of videos if you need to, but also lean into the other video platforms. We are video truthists. If you're using it, we're happy, right?
Yeah.
If we're part of that, that's great too.
And think about it too, since you're communicating with your past clients and your referral network, you're likely connected with them on social at some point. Not everyone, I'm sure. But now you have this really beautiful 2-pronged approach where you are connecting with them as the human being one-to-one directly, which is so you're already skilled at being able to use the video and you already are comfortable with something that's just a casual video. And now you've got those connections going out to them and they're also seeing you in their feed as well. So it's almost like this multiple pronged approach where they're consistently seeing you. And I do agree. I think that this right here, I just talk to my video on my phone on Instagram and I just post it. I don't do anything fancy. I don't use editing software. I use the editing that's built into whatever app I'm using. I try to keep it very very easy and dialed down because I want people to know that anyone can do it at any time. And we don't have to have the right lighting and we don't have to have a ring light and we don't have to have a microphone and I don't have my lav mic and I don't have my editing software and I need somebody to put the captions on. would just do it all right here. But you got to start, right? You got to start.
Yep, we build up to a lot of those things. So I shared the results just so you can see, regardless of what section you're in, you're not alone. We are all at different stages of our journey in this. And what's great about it is we've got some different places you can go for those, right? So if you're one of that 19% that doesn't know BombBomb, hop onto our website. I think Michelle is also going to share a link in the chat. That's just to a direct free trial sign up page. We don't care about your credit card. We're not going to ask for it. We don't want you to pay us anything. We want you to get in, record a video, send it to somebody, feel what that human interaction feels like, feels the difference of what it can feel in that video versus text stuff. So get in there, play. You've got 2 weeks. I highly encourage when you sign up, use it right away, because it's so easy to sign up for something and then forget about it for a week and a half and then go, oh shoot, I've got 2 days left, right? So jump in, just send some videos out. It's a great place to start if you're not familiar with BombBomb, if you just want to play and record some videos. I'm very excited for this next place. This is really for anybody in those other 2 categories, but especially that 63% in the middle there that was saying, I have it, but I don't use it enough. We've got a really, really exciting treat, an exciting launch. And Ray, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about this, because this is something we had years ago. It fell off and it's new and better and better than ever. So talk to us about the Bombcast and what it is.
Thank you, Kevin. I am so excited about this. The Bombcast, mercifully short stories for trusted advisors in mortgage, finance, real estate, and insurance. When I say mercifully short, I mean, I am talking to trusted advisors that are BombBomb customers, and we are covering sales, automation, tech stack, long-term relationship building, how to use video in moments that matter to your clients. I mean, it is chock full. Each episode is getting right to those meaty parts. So they're going to be about less than 10 minutes in length for each episode. So you can watch these video casts on YouTube. Here, let me drop that. Oh, thanks, Michelle. You hooked
Michelle's
it up.
on it.
I
She's
know. This Friday, September 30th, I am launching the very first episode. So if you subscribe to BombBomb's YouTube channel, you're going to see that first episode. And we're going to have a landing page for you. So if you want to be a part of those conversations, if you want more deep dives from specific advisors, Chelsea is one of the guests on the Bombcast. And connect with me on LinkedIn as well, because I'll be sharing those episodes there.
So we're really excited about this. Ray has been working her booty off to make this just so valuable for all of you, because we just value you so much. So it is no easy task to go find lots of people, schedule time to interview them, edit it down, make it chock full of value. Chelsea's nodding fervently as well, because she has
3 years into a podcast. I get it.
It's a lot. And so just know it's another new resource for those of you that enjoy things like what we do in the webinar, where it's real conversations, real strategies. This is a quick, easy, digestible way, mercifully short way to get some of that content for you. And yeah, teaser, Chelsea will be on it in a hot minute here. So keep your eyes open for that sort of stuff.
I'm stealing that word, mercifully short. That phrase is coming into my world. I love that.
That's fun. That's awesome. Last but not least, for any of you out there that just, I know you've all found value, but want to connect and hear more from Chelsea, connect with her. She mentioned Instagram is her place of choice. So we will be sharing that link in the chat so that you can use that. We will stick around for a few more minutes and answer a few questions, just because there's so much good stuff. There's never enough time to talk about this kind of content. But
and I do want to mention really quickly that if you do connect with me on Insta, if you click my link in bio, I have a free Instagram course. So I know there was a lot of questions I saw coming into like about Instagram and all of that. It's totally free. Just take it. I made that because so many people ask those questions. And so I made videos and put them in one place. So you can also access that there too.
I love it. All right. So we're going to stick around to talk. If any of you need to leave, we appreciate you. We value you. We are
so much.
So glad that you're here. You're part of this video family that we're creating here. Thank you so much. And we will be sending a follow-up email with recordings, slide decks, all those things that you need here. Chelsea, I want to dive into this because I want to make sure we use the next 10 minutes maybe that we've got. We're already over our time a lot. But one of the big themes that I've been seeing in the Q&A is this idea of separation of personal and business. Do I post as a corporation, as a business? Do I post as a personal? What are some of your thoughts and advice around I don't think there is a right or wrong, but how do you kind of make that decision for yourself? What are some things to consider there?
Right. Well, and I realize that there's all sorts of different positions that people are in on this call. You could be in a support position for an organization or a team or a corporation, or you could be a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a one-person show, or you could be a one human being who's part of a larger corporation. And so there are a lot of different options. What I will say is this. Facebook, we have to thank for separating personal and business. We got our personal timeline and they made us get a business page. And then all of us were like, well, wait, not much is happening on my business page. And I don't really like that. Just so you know, nobody did anything wrong. They ran out of room in the feed. So they have downranked business page content. So you're not imagining something, you didn't do anything wrong. Your personal content's always going to get more engagement and reach. So then when we get into Instagram world, people thought, well, I have to have two separate accounts, don't I? Don't I have to have a personal? Don't I have to have a business? You don't have to. If you are a human being and your account represents you as the human, then you only need one account as long as you are comfortable with that. Some people prefer to have multiple accounts, one that is set to private for whatever your reasons may be, and one that is set to public. Now, along with that comes the question of, well, what's the percentage of business content to personal content? And there is a big difference between personal and private content. Personal is human. Maybe you are talking about business or the market or stats or whatever it may be, and you are in it and you are giving your advice and your insight. That is human personal content. You have a dog, Kevin, I have a dog. That's personal content, right? So you don't have to share private. You determine what that boundary is and you determine where you want to go with it. What I will say is that a lot of business only accounts like that only have stats and graphics from Canva, and I don't even know who you are because I don't see any of you in your content, generally speaking, is probably going to get less engagement. So I like to say your content should be 100% human with you in it. Whether you're talking about what you do as a trusted advisor, whether you're talking about your love for rescuing dogs, all of that has a place within it. And I like to put a lot of my human stuff in my stories. I like to put educational stuff in the feed because I know a lot of people could find that content and I want to be seen as a trusted advisor about that particular topic. So there's no right or wrong. There's no ratio. But I want to let you know that if you've been struggling having two accounts and you're like, why isn't my business account getting any engagement? It's not you. It's not just you. That usually happens.
And
That's
here's
great.
another thing that I want to recommend to people who are just getting started. I am responsible for all of BombBomb's content on our social platforms. And initially that was terrifying because I was like, I have to speak on behalf of 150 people and the community that we have at this company. Hell no. But then but then I didn't like creating my own content either because I felt so vulnerable and awkward about posting on my own LinkedIn profile and being seen. And I saw a few questions about building your brand and what your brand is. So here's how I started that was helpful. And I hope that it's helpful for you. I started posting on BombBomb's account before I started posting on mine because I knew BombBomb's brand. That is not BombBomb's logo. That is not BombBomb's color scheme. That is not BombBomb's blogs. BombBomb's brand is their reputation with their customers, with their employees, with their digital experiences. And once I had a better understanding of that brand, it helped me frame in my mind what I wanted my own brand to be, and then helped me create content in that way as well.
That's holy cow, that's a webinar topic in itself right there. Yeah. Creating your own brand and figuring that out. That's a difficult thing, but that's really good stuff to start thinking about for sure. There was actually a question Katie asked in the Q&A, kind of talking about the human equal to professional. Is that advice applicable for real estate team? Yeah, 100%. You're human.
Yeah, because we want to know what it's like to work with your team. What is your company culture? What does it look behind the scenes like, especially if you're going to be recruiting and bringing people into the company, which is what I love about BombBomb is I don't work there, but I know what your energy and your culture and your passions are about. And it's just amazing. So yeah, absolutely. I would say, show us what it's like to work there. Show us what you're passionate about. Highlight the amazing humans that are on the team and their stories. So think about, how you consume and connect to another company or organization. I personally love to see like the human behind the organization. And maybe sometimes it's like, I don't see enough like CEOs. I feel like I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Or I love that story. Or I didn't know that that's how they started this company. And so, it's human.
I think it's funny too. I mean, Chelsea, you've probably seen this because you work so heavily in the real estate space.
Mhm.
I could probably open my window, throw a rock, and be pretty close to a realtor. There's a lot of realtors. I'm not saying they're all good and they're all on your level of any realtors that are out there, but how do you differentiate yourself? How do you bring that context? It's you. You are what is different from any other realtor. They have the same license, but you change the game there. So one other kind of sort of theme that I think is a question a lot of people have, Chelsea, is frequency of posting in a couple different ways. Like how often do I need to be posting all the time, once a week, once a day, if you have any recommendations there. And then also the balance between video and static. Do you want to do all video? Do you want to do pictures sometimes? Do you have any kind of, and again, I know some of it will be site specific potentially, but yeah, what are kind of your general rules of thumb that you live by?
Well, all of you who stayed to the end, I mean, I know people are going to get the bonus recording, but this is going to be like a super extra pro tip bonus that we didn't get to cover in the hour that we had with the whole group. First of all, I want you to think about, because I have a lot of content stress in my life. I get that. And frequency and numbers and rules and guidelines and all the things can become very overwhelming. And when things become overwhelming, we don't want to do them because we're feeling like, oh, this is a lot of stuff. And I just want to grow my business and relationships. Okay, write this down. Less contenting, more commenting. Less contenting, more commenting. Talk to people. I did not have the ability to talk to people at scale in my pajamas with my coffee, not on a video. You don't always have to use video. It's communication and connecting. So what are the algorithms looking for? They're looking for who you're talking to. What do I mean by they're looking for that? Well, they have to give you content, right? So how is it going to serve me content? It's looking for people I talk to. They call it meaningful social interactions, or MSI. That's the inside Facebook language. And so if every time Ray posts, I'm commenting and I'm not liking, because that's for you, not for them. That's for you to say, oh, I did my social media engagement, right? Your content's not for you. It's not about you. It's to connect with the other human being. So when I leave her a comment that says, oh my gosh, that's so great. Congratulations on your new podcast, or whatever I'm going to be leaving, right? She's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you. You felt good. She feels good. So now they have a positive experience with your brand. And the computer says, oh, these people are talking to each other. We should resort both Ray and Chelsea's feeds to make sure that when they do post content, it is going to float to the top of their feed. So back to the frequency question. You need to figure out ultimately what's sustainable long-term for you and your mental and emotional health and your calendar. Okay. But always you first. For me, I post every day in stories because it brings me joy. I love it. I don't even feel like I'm creating content. I post 2 to 3 times in the feed, and I started with 1. Now you might be thinking, oh, but I hear all these people that say you have to post every day. If you post every day and that's sustainable for you, go for it. You will grow and get more reach, absolutely, faster than somebody like me who may not be. But I'm still growing and it's sustainable for me, and I'm not stressed out and overwhelmed. And so I would say pick a frequency that's consistent data points over a long period of time. These platforms are ranking you against you, not me against Kevin, who's posting 5 times a day. It's not going to say, oh my gosh, Chelsea only posts 3 times a week, but Kevin posts 5 times a day. So we're going to punish Chelsea. As long as you're consistent and you don't show up like, 5 times in 1 week, then you're like off the platform for 3 weeks. It's really about the talking to people. And that's how I can, quote, get away with posting so little in the feed, or when I was doing it once a week, because I am a heavy engager. I am a talker. I am a commenter. I am a direct messenger. And that is what the platform loves. And it's like, hey, great, you are talking to people and keeping them on the platform. Let's make sure that your content goes out to more people and the people that you are talking to. So I think that's the best way to come up with frequency. There's no magic number. There's no magic hashtag formula. If there was, I'd be selling it. And then you said static or video. I hate to say never post a picture. And also is platform specific. Like you can't post pictures on TikTok. I find that pictures perform very well on Facebook for me and videos don't perform as well. I find on Instagram right now, they're all about reels. So I don't really post very many pictures. I post reels. And I'm hesitant about doing that because I really do believe that everybody likes to consume differently. Not everybody likes to watch reels. Not everybody likes to watch videos. And so I think there's something to be said about doing what your zone of genius is. If you're a great writer, lean into the captions. If you're a great speaker, lean into the audio, the podcast. So it really isn't all one thing. Are there things like reels that I would say are performing better? Yeah, absolutely. And you need to have some joy in what you're doing as well.
Oh my gosh, Chelsea, this stuff is so good. Like this is so real and scary. And
Yes.
just having some basic understanding and guidelines around this is great. I was even watching chat while we were talking about the frequency, and I've seen some videos from Gary Vee where he's like, post. You can't post enough right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love that in theory. That's terrifying to me. There's no way I can find 15 things of comment.
Yeah. I mean, I love Gary. I've spoken at Gary's event and that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. It also may not work for people's different styles of brains, neurodiversity and different levels of emotional health. I mean, I'm an anxious person. I have a lot of anxiety and part of that is around, whatever I'm focused on that day. So yeah, to say that there's only one way to do it is for me becomes very defeating. And then I'm like, I'm not going to do it because I can't do 30 videos a day. And I don't have someone following me around. So I want to empower and give people permission that you can still be the amazing you and still make amazing relationships. And you may or may not make them as fast or at scale as somebody else. And it's totally okay if your icon or mentor is pumping out so much content every single day and you don't have to. You can do what's right for you.
Chelsea Peitz, you are absolutely wonderful.
This was so fun.
This was so much fun. I know we could sit and talk for another hour.
I know.
I don't know if anybody wants to listen to me talk anymore. So to everybody here, please, you can always reach out to us here at Bomb Mom if you need help with anything, if you need support. We are here to support you and love on you and encourage you in your video journey. Please connect with Chelsea. You just heard in an hour and a half some things that made huge light bulbs go off in my head just for my own personal use and how I'm going to work with people. Chelsea, thank you. We know that your time is valuable. We know that your knowledge is obviously valuable. Thank you for sharing it with us.
This was amazing for me. Thanks for feeding me today. You guys fed my soul. I appreciate it. I'm a teacher at heart and I love, pouring into all of you. And I look forward to connecting on the gram. I look forward to hopefully coming back and we'll cover more content and tips and tricks in the future. So thank you, Bomb Bomb family. This was so fun.
That's wonderful. Ray Ross, you're delightful as always. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for the Bombcast. Everybody hop onto YouTube, find us on there, look for those Bombcast segments. You're going to love them. They launched this Friday, the 30th. For everybody that's still here, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate you so deeply. We'll be here next month talking about more deep dive stuff, more webinars. So keep your eye out for that. In the meantime, go have fun with video, record some stuff, connect with people, be human in that communication. That's what it's all about. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.